Hi, my name is Arrtx, aka Janna. Welcome to my channel. Happy to see you here. And happy mermaid to you. And today we're doing another, well, we're attempting to do another little mermaid tale in this fun little book by Janna Prosvirina. It's called Mermaids, very aptly. And I chose this book, I actually specifically got this book for it because A, it's not very expensive, it's Amazon book, easily available pretty much anywhere, and it's easy to kind of do the different types of tales here because there's a lot of kind of full-size images with a lot of tail going on. So today's image we're working on will be this one. That's my very pretty mermaid on an anchor. I think there actually were names to these, were they? Yes, there was a name, and it's literally called Anchor, this image. Anyways, what I plan to do here is that because I painted this anchor with gold Lira paint, as you can see, it's very, very shiny. So I was thinking, what would go nice with gold? And I thought something really neutral and fairly dark. So I thought I'll make the tail kind of blue-gray, almost kind of blackish, and have those kind of floaty fin bits at the end of the tail. What it's called, I don't know. Like, not exactly white, but yeah, kind of light, and you know, some parts of it white. And for that I picked up Ohuhu Blue Glaze range that I had. So I have Blue Gray 2, Blue Gray 3, Blue Gray 6, Blue Gray 9, and then there's the darkest one, which has really weird name, which is Blue Gray 2-9. It's like, you know, even darker. So it's yeah, Ohuhu naming convention, or the way they name and number the markers. Oh, I wish that it would overhaul the whole system, because I missed the Copic system, which was very easy to understand and very logical, which Ohuhu one sadly is not. But that's, they're otherwise decent markers, so they have nice inks. Anyways, I'm going to try to do most of the tail with these, and then I also picked up some Polychromos pencils, Polychromos being pretty nice pencils to work with on this paper. And for time being I picked up light purple pink, which is 125, light yellow glaze 104, violet 3, is it 8? I think it's 8, the gold, dark indigo 157, and of course black 199. Okay, so let's try to kind of get you a little bit closer here. Okay, I am taking kind of mid-tone now, and I'm mapping up the shadow areas again, but I'm mapping them this time with mid-tone. So this is Blue Gray 06. It's going to be awkward to show it like this. I just have to call them out. And I'm going to do the shadows now. And I'm trying to work it. It's kind of awkward to work like this. Let me switch on this light. Maybe that helps a bit with shadows, and kind of change the lighting a bit here. Okay, so you can see how shiny the anchor is. So I thought that this bit here behind would be pretty dark, but I'm going to create a little bit of a narrow highlight here. So putting down, and as I get, I'm keeping it straight or kind of a like even and smooth the line here next to the outline. But as I go in here, I kind of, instead of trying to blend it out, I'm bringing it in with little dots like this. Okay, and I'm bringing those dots upwards as well, and I will keep doing that as I go on. So essentially I'm kind of doing a bit of a pointillism here. No, it's not a pointillism, but dot shading, maybe that's the best word. So I'm giving it plenty of shadow here. And let's remember she's hanging on this anchor, so the anchor would throw shadow onto her as well. There needs to be something there, but I'm taking a little bit of some dots into the white area, but I'm leaving a fair bit of white here in the middle. So making sure that the highlight, the reflected light here, that it doesn't go all the way kind of behind the anchor, because that's not how it works. It kind of peters out here in this spot. I hope you can see and that the focus doesn't play too much. Okay, and coming now from behind the anchor, and here I'm not going to give it a reflected light. I think I'm doing it pretty kind of a dark here, so I'm just doing the edges for time being. And here there's going to be shadow underneath the anchor, a little bit of dots, and I'm doing here also, I'm not going to give it a reflected light on that side. I want the contrast with the golden anchor pretty high, so I'm at the moment just, there's going to be more, and the light now, because the reflected light like this, okay, which side is kind of coming from upwards, so let's just put randomly a little bit of a shadow here behind the anchor, and I'm softening it with some dots like this, and doing it again here at the bottom, and bringing it out like this. So I'm leaving this bit here untouched, but I'm putting a shadow here, and I'm bringing a little bit of a, very gently, some dots upwards, and here as well, like I'm bringing more dots into the areas. Here where the anchor is kind of touching her slightly, I'm putting a little bit of a color in that corner, and I'm also bringing more dots upwards. Okay, and here now those straight lines I put down, I'm just going over them, dabbing, not uniform sized dots. I'm trying to kind of position them unevenly and make them bigger and smaller, and I'm bringing little dots like this into the white area. So this is it. So this is now mid-tone. So we can now see how the shadows are going to be running. But we have to be really careful with markers here, of course, because they do tend to bleed on this paper a lot. And here in the kind of this tail piece, the floaty tail piece, and the little fancy fins behind her, we're going to put the same color into just these kind of darkest areas next to them, not on them, kind of next to them. I decided that I'm going to put a bit of shadow here, and this is going to be the absolute darkest the tail is going to go. So, well, I'm going to probably darken the actual shadow a bit, but I'm keeping it as tight as I can here. So here we go. A little bit of a shadow here, a little bit of a shadow here, and I can do the rest of it possibly off camera, basically putting a little stripe of shadow next to each of these depicted hills and valleys, but I'm trying to not to put any color on those, just next to them, because I do plan to bring it pretty much to white, the highlights here, and you know, kind of also use white with acrylic markers and gel pens here to kind of make those tails white. The base color is down for the tail, just the shadows. And now we're going to go back to the main kind of fleshy tail part. And now we're going to take our absolute darkest one, which is BG209. I just can't get over the naming of this one, but hey, it is what it is. And this one now is the darkest there is, so we're going sparingly, as tightly as we can, next to the reflected light here, and as we do that, we start bringing it outwards like this. What you kind of need to understand is that if I was doing it, you know, on my own, just, you know, tossing the book back and forth and turning it around, this process would actually be very fast. The fact that I'm doing it on the camera somehow slows it down considerably. That goes for pretty much anything. Any processes, because you're kind of in the awkward angle most of the time. So I'm going to also make this bit here utterly black, because I'm imagining that there's going to be shadow there. I'm going to put a little bit, very sparingly, like this, gentle touch underneath the anchor, and I'm blurring the line feel. With little dots that I'm taking outwards from that really dark line. And I'm now doing this side and here as well, putting shadow. I'm softening the shadow with little dots, different sizes, different positionings, nothing uniform. She doesn't have a polka dot tail. We're trying to kind of fake the movement and the glisten of the scales on her tail. So here we did black line all the way, and we're going to take it slightly like this, And by softening, it doesn't, you know, it can't look like a line at all. So we just keep dabbing upwards from it until any straight or even edge is gone. And we have made it into a texture. And honestly, like, if you do it yourself on your desk and you can turn the magazine each way you want, this process goes very fast. It's essentially just quick points here and there. You don't have to worry about blending, and because you don't really have to work blending much, you also have less danger of nasty bleeds, because you know, the more blending you try to do, the more ink you put down, the more the ink is going to push out of the line art. But because we don't have to do that, we're doing essentially dot blending here. We're making it look as if she has scales. Because we don't have to do that, it actually goes really fast. It's very easy. And you know, if you're not very confident with alcohol markers, if you don't feel very, you know, at home with them yet, you know, it takes time, everything takes practice and time, then this would be a really good method for shading pretty much anything. You know, when you get started with them and you want to start experimenting. But you know, especially if you're working on a really absorbent thin paper like this, because you put too much down, it's going to be outside the lines very fast. This is the problem. So we're trying to avoid that. Okay. Now, and here this bit is done. Now we're going to put a little bit into her bra as well. I meant to put a tiny bit underneath the hand here, because the hand is showing a bit of a shadow, and underneath the bra thing, which is, I think, supposed to be seashell, but and here too we have a little bit of a shadow, and we make it take a little flick upwards, and there's, you can see there's grooves in the seashell, so we take a little flick upwards towards those grooves. Okay, I don't know if you saw it well. I'm lifting it a bit. This is what I did. Okay, let's keep working. And now the next darkest one, which is Blue Gray 09 MG100 is the name of the marker, conveniently. And here we just, now we don't try to put any lines down anymore. We just now bring in dots. So this is pure whatever dot shading here. And we're going to get it, you know, more busy in this gray area, the dotting. But we make sure that we don't just, you know, make it, you know, dot too much, so there's no texture and no lighter area showing at all. And we make sure that we're going to put heavier amount of dots down where it's the darkest, and then as we come towards the lightest area here, the dots get smaller. Well, not all of them, but they're more far apart. So we're going to do this bit here as well. And I'm also taking the dots up into her upper body a little bit, because that would eventually be the best transition, you know, how the tail starts. Okay, and now on this side again, heavier dotting where there's the most shadow, closer to the area. then bring it more far apart into the lighter areas. And here I kind of would probably give it a bit of a line to kind of make the shadow of the anchor a bit more pronounced. It's just, you know, to have a bit of more high contrast. And we're taking it inwards, we're taking it inwards, we're taking it inwards, we're taking it inwards. And here, where the tail almost meets at the anchor and goes underneath it, make sure that you don't let the highlight to go fully underneath it. You bring a little bit of a darkness upwards, because the tail turns here underneath it, but also kind of, it turns to the left, but also downwards. So there will be shadow here. Okay, and here, just some little dots. And I might take another flick here upwards to these. Very gentle, very quick, very soft flick upwards. Where the grooves of the seashells are. Okay, and now the next one is the blue-gray 06, which is MG060. And now this is the mid-tone we started with. So we're going over everything, the darker areas, and then bring in a little bit, not much. It's already in the light areas, so we're not really bringing it much more into the lighter areas. We want lighter colors there, but we bring a couple of little bits here, so it wouldn't kind of be like white trail, but it has to be considerably lighter now than the rest of her to get this shine effect. And the next color is, what's the next lightest now? Do we have blue-gray 03, which is MG030, in case you only have numbers. And this one, for some mysterious reason, has, you know, kind of even more blue undertone. So we're taking it now more and more into this light area, going over the, kind of putting some dots of it into the darker area as well, because it's lighter. It kind of almost acts a bit like a blender. It pushes, you know, softens the dots there and pushes things almost aside in parts. So it kind of blurs the dots that are too prominent or too harsh. Going dot 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 dot. Okay, and we're taking the lightest one, which is MG02, MG020, and once again this is now very light, so we're taking little dots upwards to her belly as well, and we're doing exactly the same thing. We kind of use it a bit like a dot blender here as well, dotting it over, but not so rubbing it. We're dotting and dabbing it over the dark area randomly. Doesn't have to go everywhere, kind of random dotting, and then bringing a little bit of it in dots into the lightest area, making sure that there's still a little bits of white. Not an even white trail, little bits of white showing through the dots. Okay, and that's pretty much it with kind of alcohol marker work on this part of the tail. I actually want to make this part a little bit, yeah, because I kind of feel that the shadow kind of here would be stronger, and here the tail is kind of lifting so you have this really strong glint of highlight there. Okay, and here we're also going to take black pencil and just softening a little bit, just going over the edges where we put loads of dots down, and I'm just putting it down and kind of softening in kind of a soft circular way like this, kind of blurring those dots a little bit. And I forgot that I wanted to put something in there as a kind of like this into this highlight. I'm not leaving it totally uninterrupted. I put some really light dots into it with the lightest blue gray that I had, which is blue gray 02. Okay, so that's all I did with black. I'm kind of doing the same thing over with a bit of indigo as well, very little. And what I'm doing here is also, I'm kind of, it's hard with the alcohol marker to make sure that the shadows are kind of straight and tight near the anchor. So I'm kind of making sure that everything is going. So I'm just taking it to the darkest part and bringing very, very slightly upwards. And I'm doing it quickly. This is not a long blending process. Just a little quick push and blurring of the really kind of pronounced dots. And then I'm taking violet, which is 138. And I'm just, this is now just to bring in some extra color. Some interest and undertones moments. So we're just putting it in some areas. So it would be like glowing a little bit through all that gray, so it wouldn't look so kind of a dead gray. So I'm essentially putting it into random spots, but I'm not bringing it much into the white. I don't want to kill the highlights and the really light areas. I'm putting it mostly into the dark areas and then bringing very, very slight, like almost hints. I don't know if you can see, if I get closer, tiny bit into that really light area. So there we go. And then next pencil I'm going to grab is light purple pink. 1, 2, 3. No, it's not 3. It is 1, 2, 3. That is actually funny. I never really thought of it. And the same story. I'm going to put it in just in kind of areas. Okay. Just to give a little bit, and because we put in those colors in random spots, that gives us not just black but slightly iridescent black effect. So the spectrum here is going to be kind of pink leaning. I'm not sure if I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in there as well, because there are yellow, I kind of probably will, because there's little yellow elements, tiny ones. The fish are going to be the bright yellow, so I might put in a bit of yellow glints as well, just to kind of bring it to the tail slightly. And oops, I forgot about the bra. I'm going to put a little bit of that purple into the bra. Okay. And now I'm taking the yellow, which is light yellow glaze 104. Really like that color. And now I'm kind of sticking it gently, not everywhere, okay? Just couple of spots. Having it in couple of spots is more effective than doing really strong kind of a yellow stripe here. Okay, I leave some white, I leave some pink, I have some purple glowing through, and especially from distance now. Doesn't this look fun? Okay, and now let's work a little bit on those fins. So I have the blue-gray 06 down there, and I'm not going to put more of that down, but I'm going to take blue-gray 03, and this is now quite light, and I'm just adding tiny bits of it, going over the areas I have there and bringing slightly outwards from these. So it's just softening those shadows tiny bit. And don't worry that it looks quite dark at the moment. The reasons it looks quite dark is that, you know, there's still black line art. Once we take the black line art out, it will look white. And I want these bits to be pretty bright. But I'm going to add a bit of dimension to these curves here. Okay. Okay, now the next thing is I'm taking the lightest one, which is blue-gray 02, and I'm going to soften everything here further. I wish there was even lighter one, but I don't think Ohuhu has them. Copic has super kind of a light tones. I actually like those blue-gray tones a lot. So essentially I'm just kind of softening the shadows, the kind of a sharp areas here. And because it's so light, I could be pretty rough. You can see how I'm just flicking. I'm not rubbing anything or doing very deliberate blending, because the paper is so soft and the colors are so close to each other. There's no need for that. And I'm not going for kind of a perfectly even blends. I'm going for a bit of texture and kind of natural looking shadows. And here we go. Once the, you know, I'm putting the white on top of most of the black lines, it's going to look way better. Okay, and I don't really want this one to be as prominent as it is. I kind of kept forgetting about it. So what I'm taking now is blue-gray 3, and I'm going to kind of blend it like this. So there is a reflected light, but it's not like super prominent. And now I'm taking Indigo, and I'm just going like next where those highlights are, and next to her body, those floaty fins, whatever they're called, I do not know. I keep calling them fins. I'm just giving it extra bit of darkness, so it feels more like it's behind. Her body is throwing a shadow onto it. So just darkening it up. And I'm doing the same thing here in that corner where the anchor is throwing shadow as well. I'm making sure that there's strong shadow. Okay, and here in the tail I won't add much darkness, but I'll add a little bit in the kind of tightest, darkest areas. And Indigo, as you can see, is perfect for that. It's this lovely color between really dark gray and really dark blue, and works very well with purples as well. So it's really so universal, and I go through them fast. because I'm using it a lot. A really useful color. Not every indigo is made equal, but really like the Polychromos one. A perfect. Okay, here we go. This is now done. And I'm now taking the gel pens first. Where are we? I'm going to take this Langua calligraphy, Langua plus calligraphy gel pen, which is such a reliable little workhorse and absolutely perfect here. And I'm going in and putting some extra little sparkles, making them more into the light areas, but taking them into dark areas as well, occasional ones, and making sure that they are spaced unevenly, maybe in little kind of a groups if you want to do groups of 3 or 4 occasionally, and also that they are differently sized. Some of them are tiny, some of them are bigger. There's a couple of tiny ones here. Oops. See, I'm going to probably leave it there as it is. I'm not taking them upwards to her body yet because I want to go in there eventually with pencils. So if I put gel pen here, I would be in trouble. I can do that later. Okay. And this time, I'm not sure if I'm going to put any color onto her tail. If I am, it's going to be very, very light. Let me see if I can make up my mind. I pulled out my brute fooners. This is my brute fooner set, and there are some nice, really pale pinks that I can use here. Okay, I'm pulling out Cosmos. And Cosmos and Mauve. Okay, they're very light pencils. If you don't have them, if you don't have brute fooners, the macaroon pencils, I think color ones are pretty much identical if you happen to have these. Or I don't know, shuttle art ones, I don't know about these, but I'm pretty sure color ones were essentially the same thing. And if not, just really very light pink from any set is absolutely fine. And I'm not putting it everywhere, I'm just picking a spot occasionally and throwing in some pink, just for funsies. And I'm putting it down very, very gentle glaze wise. I'm not trying to burnish or make it super even. I'm just giving a hint of a color. So here, here, and maybe here a bit. And maybe here. Okay, and then I'm taking the mauve and I'm doing essentially the same thing. I'm just sticking it into random areas, but even less than what I did with the Cosmos. Just a little bit. They're very kind of on the paper like this next to each other. There is no, because they're so light, there's no huge difference, but there's a slight variation, and you know, it's always beneficial. Okay, and that's pretty much it, pencil work and marker work wise. I now just need to cover the lines. Well, these lines for the fins and the end of the tail, and we should be golden. Here we go. Let's try to show you how I'm going to deal with these white lines. I am working with a white SimTap brush marker. It's Arrtx, but pretty much any white marker will do. Not getting it too close to her line art here. And I'm keeping damp water brush near me. And I prefer to use brush markers because you get kind of more organic soft line, which looks more natural. And you can kind of go for a bit more painterly effect. So, as you can see here, you know, if I feel like blurring or softening something, I'm just going to go in with a damp water brush. And some areas I'm going to strengthen and go over twice to make extra white, and some areas I'm going to leave, you know, because if you go over first time, sometimes, especially, you know, depending how much paint you put down, it can be fairly kind of pale, not kind of a pure stark white like acrylic pen, you know, the likes of Posca. So you can play with the color variations a little bit. Here we go. Just softening it up here. And no, I'm not trying to be kind of perfect. And I'm playing with the width of the line as well. I'm making some a bit more prominent, like I just did here. Okay. And trying to be very, very thin on some other lines. And this brush lets me do both. The SimTap brush I find very good. I'm very happy with the SimTap brush. And here, you know, this bit is kind of lighter, so it's kind of a like hill here. So I'm bringing the white up there, and the end of the white working quickly. See, I just took a bit more out. And I'm going to make the white wider here. And I'm going to do the same here. And flicking it up and softening the end of it. See? Just the end, so it tapers out. Instead of being kind of like stuff you can't do with Posca. Once you end the line, there's going to be poof, kind of this almost square end of the line. Whereas with brush, you can vary things a bit and play with line weights, and everything is just softer. It just looks more realistic than just, you know, if I had just drawn around it in Posca or, you know, any other or acrylic pen. It would have looked exactly like that. I drew around it with acrylic pen, whereas if you do it that way, it looks like I painted in a white thin with some color variations. So I might bring it even a little bit more upwards, making sure I'm kind of taking that line slightly thinner. See, and this is how I do the rest of them as well, and I'll show you in a minute. And here we have the tail all finished. I did the outlines with white to show how I get the white effect. It's fairly dark shadows because I prefer it like that. There's some silver there as well, which I used for covering some random spots that were drawn onto the fins. And then I added a little bit of white gel pen dots as well to kind of make them a bit more magical and sparkly. And yeah, I think it came out all right. Especially, you know, now after I will, of course, finish the skin and everything will come together. I also outlined the anchor so it now looks kind of tighter and more neat. And it really helped bringing together the tail. And I will, of course, cover this outline here eventually, but I didn't start doing it now. Well, thank you for watching. Hope you found something useful or interesting or fun in this video. Have a lovely creative time, whatever the time is or wherever you are in the world. And thank you very much for watching. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe, leave comments. That really helps me to get more exposure with YouTube and make my channel accessible for more people. So thank you and bye bye.